I'm excited to announce a new solution from H2K Labs, Revved Up. Revved Up is an invitation-only gathering and a brain trust for CEOs and their revenue-critical C-suite teams leading multi-sided businesses such as media, events, data and insights, marketplaces, and professional networks. So if you're a CEO or a C-suite leader interested in improving how your business is extracting maximum financial return from your most valuable asset data, then Revved Up is for you. Revved Up for CEOs and C-suite leaders takes place February 25th through the 27th in Sarasota, Florida. Please visit h2klabs.com/revvedup to learn more, and that's 2 V's. Welcome to the Revenue Room. I'm Heather Holtz-Knudsen and your host. During the Revenue Room podcast, we talk about everything data, digital AI, and revenue and growth. And today, I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, Constance Sayers, a member of our executive advisory board of Revenue Room Connect, and a featured speaker at our upcoming Revved Up event in Sarasota this February. I'll give you details about the event at the end of the podcast. As President and Chief Revenue Officer of GovExec, Constance has transformed a traditional media company into a market-leading platform serving government leaders and contractors. But there's another side to Constance. She's also the #1 Amazon best-selling author of A Witch in Time and The Ladies of the Secret Circus, which earned a starred review from Publishers Weekly. I actually have both those books. From hosting a midnight radio show to being named a Folio's Top Women in Media and Top 100 Media Innovators, Constance's unique journey gives her a distinct perspective on storytelling, audience engagement, and revenue generation. Under her leadership, GovExec has driven exponential growth through strategic acquisitions and data-driven innovation. Today, we'll explore how she's reshaping the intersection of media, data, and revenue. Welcome, Constance. So happy to have you with us today.
So thrilled to be here, Heather. Thank you so much.
And I'm glad you're feeling better. I know you unfortunately caught a little bit of this pneumonia. That's a little understatement that's been going around.
I think I got pneumonia in Toronto at the Taylor Swift concert.
Oh,
I
right.
do. Yeah, but it was worth it.
It was
So
worth
it was
Taylor
worth
Swift
it.
pneumonia.
It was great. It was great. So
I love it.
Yeah.
So I remember the Taylor Swift conference because we were actually going to have Revved Up at those dates, during those dates.
Yeah.
So you got to go to Taylor Swift and we avoided Hurricane Milton. So there you go.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about our discussion for a few reasons. I mean, one, you're doing some amazing things at GovExec. I really can't wait to dive into that. But two, in our industry, it's very hard to find a female leader that comes up the revenue ranks as much as you have. And I actually also heard that from, Jessica Sibley, the CEO of Time. She also came up the CRO ranks. So I just think it's really, it's an important message for us to get two females out there entering this industry, that revenue is a great way to go, especially since you contribute to the bottom line and the top.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, sorry?
It's not for the faint of heart. So
no,
the Chief Revenue Officer job. Not at all.
Not. Especially in our industry.
Not at all.
So you've been in media and events for a long time, and you've seen the shifts that have taken place. What to you has been the biggest shift that you've seen in terms of how B2B media and event organizers approach value creation?
I think the biggest shift I have seen is the technology that we have available. I remember the old qual card days and, when everything was, print, and I'm that old, but, B2B companies now have, real access to an array of tools that allow them to establish new value creation opportunities, particularly, I think, around data and AI. And so, now I'm approaching the customer selling solutions and helping them solve their complex problems versus, leading with products like digital or events. And I think that's been a big change. It went from print to digital, then it went from, digital to content, then it went from in a content studio, and then it went from more sophisticated demand gen. And then now, we're driving so much of everything we do now with our data companies. And so that's been a big shift.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll get into, like, when I did a little research about where you are with that. I mean, you've got a really interesting data model that I'm going to ask you a lot about how that could scale to the other portfolios. But this leads to my next question, which is, you've made 16 acquisitions. You made 16 acquisitions in 2021, which is a ton. And my first question was related to that. What was the criteria and what remains the criteria that you use to evaluate potential acquisitions? Like if they were a target, and then if you identified, like, how did you go the next mile?
Yeah, well, we definitely had a matrix of everything that we kind of wanted. I mean, and we do cover government. So, for over 50 years, we have served government leaders in the federal, defense, and state and local markets with daily news and research. So that's been, our core product for 50 years. Our thesis was to build an intelligence platform around those buyers in government. So, our core business model is that we connect those companies looking to sell products to the in government to the likely buyers who are working in government. And so, 3 years later, we have really built, I think, the largest platform with government decision makers, and we have a huge database now of buyers in government. And so that is, really just, like I said, we had Matrix, with all of the different verticals, and we were looking for data companies that were in all of those verticals. And that's really, what we did. So specifically, we went out and acquired a number of data companies that bring unique data sets around things like RFPs, competitor information, industry forecasts, all of which, if you are selling to government or pursuing government business, that's data that you need. And so that really wrapped around the existing lead generation business that we had quite nicely. And so what we took was essentially a lead generation business and made it 1,000 times more sophisticated. So now we have data and intelligence a company needs if they're going to go to market in the government space. So if we are going to consider additional acquisitions, we're always going to look for filling gaps in those customer needs. And you're certainly right. 16 was a lot. I mean, overall, though, I think our customers didn't care ultimately that we acquired 16 new logos. What they cared about were the capabilities. And we'll talk about this later, but we've spent about the last 18 months shifting from those companies into capabilities.
So it sounds like to me that the real driver, and this is really smart, by the way, is that it was you want to make GovExec part of every audience member's daily workflow. Whether it's information gathering or submitting RFPs or
Mm-hmm.
evaluating vendors, it's like you are their go-to when they are making purchasing decisions, and actually not just to make the decision, to execute part of the purchasing
Correct.
decision.
We wanted to completely surround their go-to-market strategy. That
Yeah.
was the whole thing. And we were already working with the marketers on, I need leads, I want events to support the business development and sales side of the house, in support of winning government contracts. So we just then added all of that. Well, what contracts are you pursuing? Oh, okay, you're pursuing these. You could pursue all of these. You're best positioned to win these. And so we can give you intelligence around, basically the contracts that you're pursuing, how you as a company are best perceived to, go, how the Department of Homeland Security, for example, perceives you, what competitors you have against that business. And then that feeds right into the messaging and the content creation that you have. And then from the content creation, the leads that you get, and then the leads are data that then goes right back into. So it's like a 360, kind of model where the data then informs what we're going to do with you next. And so it really is, like, to exactly what you're saying, it was a total go-to-market strategy.
Well, and I got something wrong when I asked you that question, and now I'm really seeing it. So I was taking it from the audience side.
Mm,
You actually got it's like it's a 360, as you like GTM selling engine
right, right.
for your advertisers and sponsors. Wow.
Correct. And it's driven by our daily engagement with our readers who
Hmm. Hmm.
are themselves, the people making the decisions at various levels of government. So, there's a real symbiotic relationship between and there is ultimately, I mean, government contractors work very closely with managers in government to run government. And so that is, we know that relationship exists to begin with, and we basically broker both sides of that.
Hmm. Great. Well, with my next question actually is, now with those acquisitions, how do you approach, there's how did you and how and through lessons learned, like how are you approaching the integration required when you're bringing all of those businesses together as it relates to data, the tech stacks, all of that, so that there's just a ton there, but
Yeah, we definitely, I mean, we work closely with our teams during the integration process. I mean, everyone does, of course, but when we chose GovTribe when we acquired GovTribe in 2021, co-founders Jay Hariani and Nate Nash joined GovExec, the parent company, in a leadership role to ensure, basically that their knowledge of that GovTribe's goals and GovExec's goals were intertwined from a technology stack perspective. And so they were, they advise on that, and they're key to that, so that the overall strategy was integrated both with GovTribe and GovExec. We certainly, create our integration plan around our users, and, how we think they're going to use the data and intelligence. We get a lot of data from our websites and from GovTribe itself. So, that really helps us make decisions as to users want this or they don't like that, or, so that's also really informing. So, certainly Jay and Nate had a big hand with GovExec informing what the original tech stack was going to be, and how we integrated. Now I think it's largely driven by what users want. So that has been kind of where we're headed now. Kind of, I would say, in this next evolution of our business. And so and we now have an established platform in GovTribe. So that's been kind of where everything is being built out now.
What about on the sales side, like CRM usage? Do you just
Yeah.
push everyone over to your
No,
core? Like,
well, we actually, so we migrated over to HubSpot about a year ago. And yeah, about a year, Q1 of last year. So we're coming up on a year ago. And we had every sales tech stack was different. And so CRMs were all over the place. And we were in Salesforce, and we decided to put everyone in HubSpot. We felt that it was we wanted to have much more control over that sales to marketing kind of experience, and so creating sequences and doing things like that, which I think are very easy to do in HubSpot. And so we moved everyone and migrated. I think we have only one company right now that is not on HubSpot, and they're working to get in there. And so that has been 14 of those companies have gone into HubSpot. And so what's really nice about that is I can search a client. So I can look up Accenture, and I can go into Accenture, and I can see, and I want to see this. I mean, as the chief revenue officer, I want everyone across the company to be able to see what is happening and who is being, who we're working with at Accenture, because we have two separate personas that we work with. So we have the sales and BD kind of capture folks who are primarily, out meeting with customers and selling. And then you have the marketers, and the marketers have been kind of with our more traditional demand gen and lead gen business. So we have two distinct personas. And I do like to see that, because a lot of times we are trying to cross sell. If we want to kind of, I want to see the dashboard in front of me about who, oh, okay, this person is running BD. Okay, I do have that. And yes, we have been working with them over here. And, that's a person that actually can help us over here with the demand gen side of the house. So just kind of, breaking that down, I think with one sales CRM, I think has been really essential, and it's very user friendly.
yeah, no, we love HubSpot. So, and I've worked with quite a few of them in the past, including Salesforce. So it's a great
Mm-hmm.
move, and it is easy onboarding. So, and actually, yeah, having a single view of the customer is critical
Love
for
it.
you.
Yeah, we,
You
we
know,
really are like really living that, which is, just, you know, devotion to the customer. So that is, and I think that, certainly kind of, taking a look at everything that they're buying from us, what they want from us, what's working and what's not, is really helpful.
hmm So when you acquire some of these businesses, I'd imagine that, and maybe it's not so much of the case since you're acquiring companies that are way more sophisticated in the offering, like you're really focused on
Mm-hmm.
data. But just out of curiosity, like if you were to acquire, a company that had, all the, they had some core revenue streams that you really, really were like, we want those. Those are going to be
Mm-hmm.
totally synergistic with our solutions. Um, how do you balance maintaining, the existing revenue streams while pursuing and scaling these new, more exciting monetization opportunities?
Um, well, I think having lived this, first you do no harm. And so by that, I mean, you need to learn how the acquisition did business and not break anything, which is easier said than done because you want to move quickly. And, you might miss something, some essential stream of revenue. And especially if a founder doesn't remain,
Mm,
there may be like, whoa, what happened there in Q1? And so that is something that the remaining team may not know. Like, oh, well, I think it was this or that. And so what you want to do is, certainly, first of all, watch your year over years pretty carefully for stability because, you've got a lot of that's a lesson learned for me, which is that we want to make all these changes, but you can't keep your eye off of what they did and the stability of the revenue that they had before. So that's the first thing you have to do. And then I think then you get into a phase where you do get a much better understanding of your core capability. So now in this like phase where we've divided our company into basically three buckets of revenue, which are data and insights is the first one, demand gen and content services, which is the second, and third is community. So anything that we would acquire going forward, we have a much sharper sense of, okay, we want it to go and do that thing. So, we know what fits and what we have to prune, but any revenue stream above and beyond what's already doing, it needs to keep doing that. That thing that you bought for it to do, so it's like kind of keeping things warm on the stove while you're heating up something on the front burner. You've got to really manage, okay, this business does this really, really well. Like, so for example, we have a training business, PDA. It does amazing training. But we've been able to actually integrate it into our demand gen business and sell sponsorships. And so that's a new thing for it to do, but I need it to keep doing what it's been doing from, a curriculum development and from from getting students in. They have a regular like kind of student business that they're getting students for their upcoming classes and enrollees. But we now have a whole new thing where they're on the road now doing afternoon trainings after we do roundtables in the morning. And so that's a different thing. And that is providing additional revenue. But again, you just have to be mindful of the fact that you've got to have kind of wear two hats there, which is what you did do and what you want it to do.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think especially important too is it's not just breaking things, but you're owned by private equity, so there's obviously a lot of scrutiny and expectation
Yeah,
on the growth, right, and the
right.
investment thesis. um so and again, if you don't want to answer this one, you don't have to, but I was like asking, you've done a lot of acquisitions that we just went
Mhm.
over. Which one proved the most challenging, and what did you learn from it?
Uh, we certainly had some acquisitions that we had worked with in our existing business, and we acquired them, and they absorbed pretty smoothly. I think the streamlining services that may overlap is a challenging thing, and so that would probably the example is the Atlas, we which was one of our very first acquisitions. When we acquired it, it had a buyer intelligence kind of vision, and they had a platform that was focused on state and local buyer intent data. So, like I said, we serve the state and local market. This was, kind of looking for signals of what's going on and what people might be looking to buy in, for example, Dallas. And so, as we spoke to customers, though, and we're like, okay, and don't you want GovTribe too? And in some cases, if you're a company that's selling to multiple levels of government, you would, but they didn't want two platforms. And so what we found was that no one wanted two platforms. They either wanted, we had the GovTribe data, they wanted GovTribe data in the Atlas and the Atlas data in GovTribe. And so what we had to do there is make a decision, and on which platform to go with and to consolidate. And so we did, ultimately choose GovTribe as the platform. And then they began to absorb all of the state and local data then into GovTribe. And so I think that was a hard decision to make because we were essentially not going to continue with the Atlas. And so the Atlas now lives in GovTribe, but that was probably one of the more challenging things, I think, because it took us a while to figure out like, oh, okay, people don't want it in two. and in two different platforms. And now, I mean, it's an amazing. We're selling. It's the fastest selling thing we have now on GovTribe. So it's been really great.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand there's the like part where like we just spent all this money,
Right.
investing in acquiring this, and then there's kind of an emotional part like now we're getting rid of this brand. It's hard to see the value that can be created through the synergy.
And the
Um,
developers who created it were very sad.
yeah,
I mean, they put a lot into the Atlas. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful platform, but GovTribe was a stronger platform.
yeah.
So, it made sense, but it wasn't, to your point, it was not that it didn't have like people who were big fans of it.
Right, right, right. Well, let's talk about GovTribe because this really marked a significant pivot away, not away, but toward subscription-based data services. Not like subscribing to a content feed. I mean, this is really deep intelligence in the industries you serve. Um, I get what drove the strategic decision. Obviously, you wanted to have this new scalable, predictable, repeatable
Right.
growth stream. It also leads to greater lifetime value. It's stickier. There's expansion. All of those great things. But two questions I have. One is from a sales standpoint, a GTM sales standpoint. If I'm understanding this correctly, does your does the same team, you said before when we started, you're selling solutions. So one person's going into an account and identifying the problem, and they're able to sell a subscription product to them as well as the marketing and content marketing services.
So we actually have two distinct personas that we work with. So in any client, so if you're back to the Accenture example, if you're Accenture, you've got a whole sales and business development team that are looking for tools to help them select and choose what pursuits to have from a contract standpoint. And then they are feeding those into the marketing team saying, okay, we want to reach these people and we want to, so they're certainly working together on the back end. What we are doing though is we have one sales team that is very focused on GovTribe sales, and then I have a sales team that is focused on the content and demand gen business. They are selling to two separate people. We do cross selling, but what we are finding is that and GovTribe is developing products that speak to both, and I think that we will like, for example, they're doing AI marketing prompts for the marketing people, so you can go into GovTribe, and marketing people are in there certainly trying to, like, we have contact databases in there as well, so they're definitely in there, and we're getting our marketing personas to understand the value of GovTribe, where I think the sales and BD personas understand it completely. So it's been an education process for us in getting both of these personas to use GovTribe. But then also, I'm still trying to sell content services over to, content and lead generation services and events to the marketing people. And I want to sell more GovTribe to the sales and BD people. So,
All right.
so there are a lot of services that, you just have two different sets of personas, and then you have like one whole common goal and one common go-to-market strategy, but you have multiple people. And so what we are trying to do is actually have fewer products and just like, a capability that we can take you around the circle, like the 360 circle, like we were talking about. But many times you're going to be handing off to different people.
So
So,
okay. So I'm sorry I was a little dense earlier. Now I'm okay. So this is really interesting as well
yeah,
because a lot of media and event organizers or anyone who's selling this
right,
type of or with this information type services, you're helping connect buyers and sellers, right?
right.
Marketplace,
It's all we're
um,
doing. Yep.
right? You've
Yes.
got the marketing team that is a different GTM and
Correct.
motion, sales, everything, that you have the marketing services. But when you start getting further down the funnel, right, when you're getting towards actually impacting the ability to sell with the data that you're getting, for example, from GovTribe, that is the sales side. That's very
Correct.
much not the marketing.
Correct.
And I think this is where, and they're all different examples of this, but this is where when product launches happen, it's the one big thing that gets missed. They think because, oh, we're adding on to our solution, we've got a relationship with the CMO, so they're going to want this, but it is a different, it is a different buyer. But
Well, it
there's,
is, and I will say that our environment has changed a lot since post pandemic. So, for example, if you were a salesperson in the federal government, you would go to the Department of Homeland Security and you would see your customers there because they were there. Now you have, in the federal workforce, you have people, maybe they're going into the, I mean, there are mandates as to you must be in the office 6 times a month or 12 times a month, whatever that is. But if you're a business development person or a salesperson, trying to, sell contracts at the Department of Homeland Security, you're going into a largely empty office right now. I mean, it's what we hear from our clients, which are that's just that it's not, so that has put, so what that did was that put a lot more pressure on from sales onto marketing, saying, I need down funnel leads. Because there was no time to really know, they weren't, there was a knowledge gap that was happening. They were going into agencies and they had no idea how their company was perceived by these agencies. And so what we found was our insights and research services were really selling well last year. But then also, I think everyone found this, events were really, really popular because, well, if your clients aren't at the agencies, then they're at events. So they were at trade shows so what you found though, is that the dynamics between sales and marketing were changing. I mean, I've never seen it change like this, to the point where it had to be marketing was saying, I just need down funnel leads. I need sales ready leads. So that became something that we have been able to use GovTribe for with our lead gen. We now have this product called Gov Prospect, which is, we'll take your leads and then we'll take the data that we have from GovTribe to help you get those leads more down funnel. And we can give you dossiers on the best people that you should be pursuing and help you with sales scripts. So we are doing things that are much more down funnel. And we've only been able to do that because of what GovTribe and the data business that we have now can actually feed into our lead intelligence business. Hopefully that makes a lot more sense. But I mean, our market changed. It just changed on a dime after the pandemic. It's just, selling to government is just not the same anymore.
Oh, I think it's changed for many different industries similar to yours. Some are all back to work, but many are not, and it's very hard to locate. And the event side is very similar,
Right.
but this intersection between, my question was, how are you able to scale?
Yeah.
Well, right there, you just answered
Yep.
it. So you
Yep.
have, right, you've got this new
Well,
great,
I don't know how you did it with the old tools. Like, you couldn't do that with,
yeah.
if I just had, leads on my website. I mean, that, that just isn't a way. That's not going to get the sales team understanding. Like, we're able to give them sophisticated tools now to help them with, like, okay, these are the thing, the contracts you are pursuing. This is how these are the assets that you have against those contracts, and then these are the people that you should see, and these are the people you should prioritize. That's and we can keep doing that on a regular basis and keep giving regular updates on depending upon the assets that we have, knowing what the priorities are for sales. And so there really is an increased interaction between sales and business development that our tools are facilitating, I think, to some degree with the right clients. But also, I think, our tools are kind of at the right place at the right time too.
So are you gaining pricing power now, like on the marketing side? Like, we're giving you like down funnel, data enhanced, enriched demand information versus just
Yes.
leads?
No, we are definitely looking this year to start more of a subscription type service on those products. And so we are piloting. We have a pilot right now with about 5 clients to and a lot of this also has been driven by AI. And so some of the AI services that GovTribe has as well. So, we are just on the cusp. We just rolled these out in October as new products that we have based on pilots to see like, okay, were the dossiers, or are these good people? Are these, okay, here are 5 people that we think you should be calling on sales. Do you agree? And getting that feedback from clients saying, yes, these are really great. Another thing we do public sector user conferences so if you are, Palo Alto, you have a big user conference or Intel, you have a big user conference in Las Vegas or in San Francisco for all of your customers, but your public sector customers often need their own training. So we do a fair amount of those. That's a great place too for us to say, okay, we've had 500 people in the room. Our intelligence tells us that these are the best people for you, and we've gone ahead and prepared information on them and helped you with sales letters for your sales team written by AI. So there are a lot of things that we're now starting to do that, again, to your point, we weren't able to do before. And we're piloting those. And so what we are piloting probably this year, I'll have a better answer for you about pricing next year, because we want to make sure that we think they're good. And so we want to make sure that those, we're building them in right now to some of the programs that we have right now. And we're looking for basically a minimum investment for folks to do that. And we've had people sign up for it. So I think it's there. So I'm not, I'm feeling pretty bullish about that.
Oh, I love that
Mm-hmm.
part you just brought up about the helping the sales team with
Mm-hmm.
the communication part.
Isn't that
The
great?
problem with them, yeah, the problem with them using things that are very generic, like OpenAI or,
Mm-hmm.
Perplexity or whatever it may be, Claude, is it's very generic, right?
Right.
But you're sitting on the data that actually is saying, like, this project
Right.
and this blah, blah, blah. Like, you actually can create a very value-based, personalized, targeted to that company. Like, wow, that's
Yeah,
great.
no,
Help them
we're
with.
really excited about it, and to really showcase GovTribe to marketer personas, we've put up some marketing prompts, which are like general questions that the business development or salespeople may be asking them, like what contracts, like how am I, what contracts am I best, are we best positioned for, and things like. So we've written these smart prompts, like 5 of them for marketers, and they could just go in and the best marketers are definitely having a close relationship with sales to make sure that those common goals are aligned. And so we're trying to give smart tools that may take a marketer like a day to research, that they can basically pull it in 10 minutes now. So, I
Mhm.
mean, we are really, that's a great, just a great benefit to GovTribe.
No, it's you guys are. Well, I can't wait for you to talk about all the stuff at Revved Up. By the way, well, let's get back to let's actually go to the bones, right? Because at the end of the
Okay.
day, everyone talks about AI, 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 but
Mm-hmm.
you don't have AI unless you have your data house is in order.
Mm-hmm.
And when you and I spoke last, you talked about a significant investment, in
Mm-hmm.
time, people, resources, everything in your data lake initiative.
Yes.
Um, how did you one make the case for it? What challenges you face along the way? Because it's never easy. And I want to say someone told me that 80% of data projects fail,
Mm-hmm.
which is scary. And then now, like knowing you started out with a vision of what you were going to get, you got that hopefully, but did you get more?
Yeah. So certainly whenever we were um, looking to buy GovTribe, there was a lot of like, oh, we could do this. And, Nate and Jay, the founders of GovTribe, were very excited by the idea of having these 5 news sites that had 4.3 million people doing things on, like subscribing to newsletters and downloading articles. And so there was just a vast amount of content and data that was available in real time. So, that was something that was very enticing. Like if we just took this and put it together, the contract data and all the data that Nate and Jay had built in GovTribe, and added that to these incredible news sites, that would be an incredible amount of data. So over the years, we've certainly, looked at the way clients have wanted to work with us. So we thought that was a very, very, that was kind of a thesis again that we had kind of wanted whenever we acquired GovTribe was to, could we pair the two of them together? So essentially what we sent up to make the case for investment was that, we could get so much more data that would be so much more valuable, and we would be able to scale so much faster. So the challenges, has been, trying to structure our portfolio and to make it, under fewer brands. And so, it was like, okay, if we can kind of just keep this data lake, we would have an incredible amount of intelligence that we could basically put back toward GovTribe with expanded products. And again, that's always what the intent was. So what we did just specifically was we connected the GovTribe data with real-time analytics. And that real-time analytics we're getting from our news properties. And like I said, we have about 4.3 million buyers who are receiving emails and interacting with our websites in real time. And I emphasize real time here because no one else is doing this. You can have contract data. So if you look at our competitive set, you've got contract data, but nobody has, a bunch of news sites that minute by minute are in there searching things and downloading things. And so that is valuable data. So you can take contracts data and see if there are intent signals that you're getting from real-time analytics. What are people searching for? What are they reading? And so it becomes just very, very valuable to be able to do that and to connect and look at stories that are trending with readers that matter. And you can look at what search, who people are searching, what people are searching for on GovTribe as well. And so that becomes just a very, very valuable bunch of data sets. And so it did have the unintended effect of laying the groundwork for GovTribe's AI because, we had the data and we created the repository. And so, we had the mechanisms to keep gathering that data. And so we didn't have to rush out and put something in place for AI like I saw a lot of other folks attempting to do, in spring when it was like, oh my God, AI, everyone felt like they were behind. We were like, oh, wonder if we just put some prompts and we can get this data. And we started using that data that was already there. So we could actually query some of our own articles. And, so from contract data came, other things that we were able to use, our archived articles that had all been brought over. And so it really was a treasure trove for us of data. And, we didn't have to rush around looking, for data sets because we had done the work there already.
It's a very big point that I see is the businesses that did the work right before are in a tremendous position to not only leverage and be ready for AI, but really truly capitalize on it and in all different ways. And it's not just for operational efficiency, it's what you're doing, which is you actually are creating products for your customers to use to engage better with your solutions. The ones that haven't started are, I feel like, in trouble. And the ones who are midway from the journey, they're going to have to accelerate because it's the pace of change now and the impact on this industry is pretty significant, as we're seeing from a lot of the lost traffic and everything's changing, right?
Well, I just saw a lot of people trying to have I remember being at a conference and everyone was, oh, I can do this with AI. And it was like, that's really not a thing. And I feel like what we did was so organic. And so, when GovTribe started, okay, you're in a contract and you want to know who won that contract. So it's just this smart AI. And then all of the data that they could go and bring in from all of the articles we've ever written on that contract. I mean, within minutes, you have so much intelligence at your fingertips. And so, and they were already having it out being beta tested and was it good? Was and people were just reacting in such a great way to it. And I feel like we were miles ahead there. And that's been great. The challenge though, I will say, is more on our own go-to-market strategy. We have all this great data and we really do. And I've mentioned this to you. We created a product called the Placemat. So here I am from a go-to-market strategy. I'm out there with decks with 16 logos. And like I said earlier, clients didn't care. So what we do now, though, and is we take all of the data, and we do this with our top 50 companies primarily. We've had a real emphasis on our top 25 to top 50 clients. What I'll do is we'll take the data rather than saying, okay, I have all of these data capabilities. Well, people didn't really know what we meant by that, or they didn't really know how it applied to them. So what we do now is we have this giant 11 by 17 printed placemat, and in it, what we do, and we have a meeting, we take all of the data that we have on companies. We'll extract, we don't give it all of it away, but we're giving a good taste of what we have for folks. So for example, we may have like all the data we have on your company, on your brand positioning, your competitors, contracts you're pursuing, agencies and people that matter to you, the results that we've done with you from your own campaigns, and put that all on one giant sheet. And so that is the start of conversations that we're having with a lot of our clients. And they look down and they're like, wait a minute, you know how my brand, these are my top pursuits. Yes, that's correct. I'm perceived poorly there. Yes, you are. My competitor is perceived better in this area. This is what people do think I do well. So it begins to have basically a roadmap. And then at these agencies, these are the ways that people want to be communicated with. You've got a sudden roadmap and a strategy there. Again, I never would have had these tools before the investments that we've made. So, and for clients, I don't have to have a deck like we have this product and this product. It's like they see the product and like, give me more of this. And then they understand when we've applied the knowledge that we have to their own problems. And that is really where clients are like, wait a minute, you can give me country reports. If I'm going to go into another country as a defense contractor, you can do that for me? Yes, the answer is we can. So there are a lot of things that we're able to really do that we just weren't able to do before. And a lot of it's been driven by, the intelligence and the AI and all the stuff that we've bought. And it's the challenge has been sometimes, like, how do you convey all of this to a customer? And that's been the challenge. It hasn't actually been the technology. It's been like customers are like, whoa, this is amazing.
Right.
So yeah.
No, that's your base. It's like a gap analysis that you have from all of your data and strength, right? And you could present it to the customer. And to your point is like, you almost need a lever to say, I only want to show these gaps to this person because that's what they care about.
Right.
Right. But it's basically you've just decimated the need for a media kit in a way, you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, a lot of the conversations we're having are just very like it's not like I want to buy. I mean, look, we still have people, it's fine. I want to buy some leads. That's fine, and we want to work with small businesses. We want to work with everybody, and I don't want people to ever have the assumption that they have to have a lot of money to work for us,
Mhm.
work with us. I mean, we have something at every budget level, but a lot of our companies are coming to us and their clients, and they're saying to us, these are my challenges. I know you have the data on my competitors. I know you have so we're able to kind of build them a competitive framework and a strategy. And then we're able to like turn that over for content services and content creation that feeds into that, and then get them leads, and then, put intelligence around those leads to give them, to give them the best high quality leads we possibly can. But like that's a lot of I just don't know that clients are used to getting that. So trying to get them used to like, okay, this is what we can do for you, has been our challenge in the last year. It's a
Right.
good challenge to have, trust me. I'd rather have the products that we have, but it's still like getting folks to understand that we're not the company we were 10 years ago has been a challenge for us, certainly.
A lot of customer education.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to switch tracks here slightly, and that is, as one of the few women CROs and presidents in B2B media, and I actually know this given the fact that I've been looking for speakers who are female and in these roles, and it has been very challenging. Um, what unique perspectives do you bring to strategy? And to just maybe back up a second, like how did that career path work, happen for you? And what would you tell this new role of CRO that's very different than like an SVP of sales?
Mhm.
CRO is all revenue and including the whole how do you get to revenue and then what
Mhm.
happens after you get the revenue. Um, just some insights on this.
Well, I worked my way up. I mean, I never backed down from a challenge. I think that was, I had a lot of grit. I had no, I would fail from time to time, but I swung hard and tried, tried big things early in my career. And I always had a passion. I started in marketing. I started in events. And I really connected with customers and really understood how to build product and had such a passion for this space that we're in, this information media, information space. I loved it. And so, and I loved our market. And I spent some time in the, in the market that I'm in, but I also spent some time on the Hill, working for Congressional Quarterly and Roll Call and National Journal and the Atlantic. And so, that was always, I just really love solving customer problems. It's like it doesn't matter where it is or what it is. It's just like, this is my challenge. Oh, well, I've got something, I've got a path or an avenue that I can fix for that. So that was my journey, which was was in media and in events and marketing and never kind of backed down from a challenge and wasn't afraid to fail occasionally with products and to fail fast. And so that has been something I think that kind of prepared me for, and I had great mentors and I had great female mentors that showed me that anything was possible. And I never felt like that it wasn't possible for me to run a company or run a revenue organization. And so, and I hope that I have, because like I said, this is hard work. Um, it is, revenue is hard. You have, peaks and valleys. Especially, we have a lot of different revenue streams, and so, you've got incredible SaaS revenue, which is great, but then that's got to grow, and then you're spinning plates. You're spinning different types of revenue. I've got enrollment programs for schools. I've got SaaS revenue. I've got one-time revenue for research, and I've got lead generation revenue, and so you've got to spin those plates all constantly, and really reinvent. The one thing I will say too is that you also can't take your eye off your core business. I mean, we have a big lead generation business, and you can't, you've got to make sure that the products aren't going stale, because they can go stale quickly. So that's something that we kind of obsess about, and how do we keep taking all of these data insights and putting them into our more traditional products. That's just something that, like, if I don't have my eye on it, like,
Hmm.
again, it's a plate that's spinning. I can turn around and see revenue drop quickly, and there's a reason for it. So, you've got to kind of keep your market. You've got to keep your, what's your market doing? What's your, what are your year over years and your trailing, 12 months doing? It's a constant, it's just it's a constant dashboard, and trying to figure out, solving mysteries about, like, what's happening and what's going on in your market and in your business, I think is not for the faint of heart. And so I really love my job, and I really love my companies, and I love, you have a question where you asked me about, like, I think which one is my favorite. I'm like, oh, no, I could never do that. Because there's no, I love them all equally. Really, I do. They all work really hard, but it's a just being I hope to be a role model for other women leaders in GovExec, and just show them that it is possible to take on challenging jobs.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, it kind of leads to my next question, which is what advice would you give media companies who are struggling to transition from traditional advertising models to data driven streams?
Yeah, again, I think it's, to remain true to the audience that they originally served. And at GovExec, we always knew our editorial coverage was, you know, geared toward providing, those operating in the public sector with the latest news. And so what we built around it was not that far from where we started. So understanding what your audience needs are, and can help you provide a roadmap from other data-driven revenue streams that you can kind of surround with. So if you're stuck right now with your revenue, take a look at what are, probably the best thing to do would be, convene a focus group with some of your users. What are their challenges? What are the challenges? And they may not be able to tell you what the challenges are today, but like, what are they hearing and what are they worried about? And then are there other things that you can either buy or build around that solve those problems? You start solving problems and revenue is going to follow. That's just, I think, the best advice I could give. And so look around your just right outer perimeter and see if there isn't something that you could build or buy that, addresses something that keeps your current existing audience up at night. Um,
Yeah, no, you said something earlier that like
mhm,
you have such an ear to the ground with your clients and customers. Like when you said the way that business is being done now in with government has
yeah,
changed,
right,
and you know it. And then you
right.
knew what the challenge was for the sellers going in to try to sell to them, which are your clients.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's so important that it's don't guess, don't make assumptions about change or lack thereof. It's like you have to, I think a lot of businesses have to get closer to the customer to really understand and hear the nuances. Now, that there is lots of change happening right now in terms of how people are, buyers and sellers are engaging, so I think that's really smart.
And a lot of times the answers are right there. Again, people will, your customers will tell you what's keeping, or will tell you what their stresses are, or what they're hearing, or what other people in their market are saying. Maybe they don't want to, but like having your ear to the ground there, and then saying like, is there a product I can buy or build? And before we were acquired by the private equity firm that bought us, we were bursting at the seams. We wanted to expand into additional research services. We had this research called Leading Brands. We wanted to build a whole thing around it, which we have. And we had these ideas that if we just had more investment, we could do so much more, because we knew what the problems were that our clients wanted, and wanted answers for, and we thought we could help. And so, and that became the thesis of everything that we've done now. But customer experience has got to be at the front and center. I mean, I will give you just one last kind of example. Um, a company called Forecast International, and so I do actually get calls now for data emergencies. And I don't ever get calls for event emergencies. I get them for data emergencies. And we had a customer call, and they had a data emergency, and asked us if we had all these different data sets, and we did. And what happened from that is we built an entirely new product. And so what happened, we have a company called Forecast International, and they have a lot of users who use a forecasting platform. So they have one of the most robust databases on aviation and weapons systems. So they'll do a 10 to 15-year forecast on aviation systems, as well as historical purchased information on weapons. So, for example, if you are a company who's looking to produce something, so like, for example, a cradle on a missile that sits on an F-14, a missile is held in a cradle, or you have a jump seat, or you have radar systems, then what you're doing is you're looking to look at the production of those for the next 10 to 15 years. And if you're a country and a Ministry of Defense, you're actually looking to see who has bought what around you. So we have that's our Forecast International business, which is an amazing business. But if you are wanting to know the total addressable market of something, and you want to know how to sell it, then you need to take the GovTribe data, and then you want to attach that to a contract vehicle. Well, no one does that. Forecasting data lives over here and contracting data lives over there. And what we've done now is we now have a product that stitches those together. So if you're a company and you want to do, you want to know the total addressable market for the next 10 years for your particular product, you want to know where the budget is, you want to know what agencies or what branches of the Department of Defense are going to be buying it, and you want to know what contract vehicles and what people, we can do that for you. That's a whole, and that's just listening to your customers. And that's the exciting stuff that we have been doing, Heather, the last year. It's like, I'll get calls and I'll be like, I have no idea, but let me roll up my sleeves and figure it out. And
That's,
that's amazing.
no, that's
That
incredible.
has come an entirely new product for us.
Yep. Yeah, and again, it's like you're embedding yourself in the daily. I always say this: you have to like embed yourself in the daily flow of work and make yourself a critical must-have that they like can't live without.
And then I
Like,
think as my role as chief revenue officer, people will like, our customers call me, hey, I know you got a lot of stuff. Do you have this? And it's like, oh yeah, I think we do. And so that's great. So
that's perfect. All right. Well, we're coming to the end of our podcast. So I wanted to you're a member of Revenue Room Connect's Executive Advisory Board, and we're like super thankful and grateful for your participation. And just for the listeners who don't know, Revenue Room Connect is a new professional network that we're launching for CEOs and revenue critical C-suite executives leading what I call information, multi-sided business models like media, events, marketplaces, who are really focused on fueling enterprise value and growth, utilizing data and AI. Constance, when we first spoke, what attracted you to joining the advisory board for this new group, this new network?
I love that it's focused on revenue. And then I had the great honor of really attending your event in New York City, and I was blown away. It was the best use of my time ever. Not only did I talk a lot about data for our clients, but as a CRO, what I thought was great, you did a whole kind of unpacking of how I should be using. I'm like the cobbler with no shoes. It's like, oh God, I should be using my own data to run my own revenue operations. And you gave like a real day-long deep dive on what that should be. I just think the content specific to revenue is amazing, and it was, like I said, the best event I have attended in maybe in ever. I mean, it was great, Heather.
Oh, I'm well, obviously grinning ear to ear right now. Thank you for that. No, we're super passionate about this, and we'll be talking a lot about this at Revved Up. And I just want to share the title of your session, which is Accelerating New Revenue Streams, How GovExec Turned Data into Dollars.
Yeah.
And that'll be on Wednesday, February 26th. So I hope other CEOs and C-suite executives who are listening to this want to find out more, which you can do by going to h2klabs.com/revved up. I think we also have the URL in the show notes. So I normally have some cool rapid fire. I know that questions. I'm looking at the ones I had put in here, and I don't like them. So I'm going to ask you just a fun one. That's off the cuff,
Okay.
but all right. And it's a little unfair since you are an author, but if
Mm-hmm.
you were on a deserted island and you only were allowed to bring one book, and that was a book you had to read a couple times over, what book would that be?
I guess probably Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. If anyway, I'm a big Susanna Clark. It's just an amazing, very thick, very deep book about magic in England, and I think I could spend a couple years with that book and be fine. I love that book.
Oh,
So
that's a great one. That's a great
yeah, no,
recommendation.
it's a great, yeah. She just wrote something new. She's been in the New York Times recently, and she took a big hiatus from writing. And it's that was a seminal book. It was really great.
Well,
It
perfect.
definitely inspired me for my own books.
Yeah, and your books are great, by the way. I have to actually put a review on Amazon for the one I
I
just finished.
appreciate that.
So, all right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Constance. We're looking forward to see you in February. I'm glad you're doing better. And listeners, you can find Constance on LinkedIn or on the govexec.com website. I'm excited to announce a new solution from H2K Labs, Revved Up. Revved Up is an invitation-only gathering and a brain trust for CEOs and their revenue-critical C-suite teams leading multi-sided businesses such as media, events, data and insights, marketplaces, and professional networks. I launched Revved Up for a few reasons. The first one is I'm extremely passionate about empowering our industry to write the rules versus ceding business value to tech platforms. And with AI no longer an on-the-horizon situation, it's here to stay. And with threats abounding, it's time for us to turn those threats into opportunities and to establish the rules of the game versus being told what to do. The second reason is there's clearly a gap in the market when it comes for events for us as an industry, and I want to fill that gap. We need new faces in the room, we need future-forward serious discussions, and we need cross-industry and cross-functional convergence. And most importantly, we need to take this discussion from 50,000 feet down to 10 and 5,000 feet. It's time for the conversation about data and its role in driving significant and sustainable enterprise value to take center stage. This discussion should leave you neither confused nor bored, but instead equip you and your teams with actionable strategies and playbooks to implement back at the office. It's about making existing revenue streams better, improving profitability, launching new revenue streams, and creating defensible competitive advantage. It's about CEOs helping CEOs learn how to navigate this increasingly complex race course. According to Gartner, 86% of CEOs believe AI will maintain or grow company revenues and enterprise value over the next 3 years, yet they do not know where to strategically focus their efforts. I hear this all the time when we talk to clients. That's where we come in. At Revved Up, we'll dive into how to fuel enterprise value, as well as to create sustainable competitive barriers to entry. Revved Up for CEOs and C-suite leaders takes place February 25th through the 27th in Sarasota, Florida. Please visit h2klabs.com/revvedup to learn more, and that's 2 V's.